probably when they're listing the greatest achievements during the pandemic.
The vaccine.
The Pfizer vaccination.
Moderna's number 2.
They figured out about the bats in Wuhan. And they also wanted to stop baseball pitchers from messing with the ball.
Police reform was good. The reforming spider attack, and then number 5, solid number 5, was getting the 2002 Honor Club settled once and for all.
It is good. And second to that is we have a special guest tonight.
Yes. Oh, how can we forget Mike G, the famed Mike G, Mike Greenblatt, Carrie's cousin who got him into wrestling, helped get him into music.
Former ROH publicist from 2004 until 2011.
Wow.
Man at the Bell.
Yeah.
I see him at
many great titles. I know off the top of my head, Seth Rollins, when Tyler Black wins the belt, he's there.
And not to mention the Samoa Joe Kobashi.
Right, yeah.
How about getting introduced to Bob Dylan by Keith Richards?
Oh,
backstage at the Lone Star Cafe when my client, I was a publicist, and Roy Buchanan was the artist. They asked Roy Buchanan to replace Brian Jones in the Rolling Stones. He said no, and it was on the eve of Live Aid in Philadelphia in 1985, and Keith and Dylan. Keith and one of the guy backed up Dylan that day in Philadelphia, and I was talking to Keith Richards. He didn't want to talk to me, so he just said, "Here, meet Bob Dylan." And then I looked at Bob Dylan. I swear to you, Ian, I've met them all, and I never got flustered. But when I met Bob Dylan, instead of saying hello, I said, "Bob Dylan." Elton John was having a party for his so-called retirement. He was going to retire from touring. John Lennon was still alive, living in the Dakota, hiding out, not doing much of anything. And his table was roped off with a silk curtain. And I had to get a quote from Elton John, but I wasn't allowed to. The publicist said he's not giving quotes. And I waited until the publicist left. And I ducked under the curtain and slid on my knees right in front of him while he was having his appetizer. And I stuck my tape recorder in his face. And I started asking him some questions. He obviously thought that this guy has some balls. So he gave me a 20-minute interview about his good friend John Lennon and why he's not going to get out anymore, and he's going to just stay in the Dakota and not do any more music, and I wish him well and so forth. And then he says to me, "But I'm going to get him out. I'm going to get him out of the Dakota." The Grateful Dead is probably the worst band in history. To their credit, they had 2 of the greatest albums in American rock history, forerunners of the Americana movement. American Beauty and Working Man's Dead. And those 2 albums are pristine, and they're still on my lifelong rotation. But at Woodstock, they were awful. And I remember yelling at them, "Get off the stage, you suck." And they did that song by the Bobby Blue Bland Blues Band, "Turn On Your Love Light." But they did it for 45 minutes. And they weren't funky. They weren't soulful. They were just doodling for 45 minutes. And unbeknownst to me, Creedence Clearwater Revival was to go on next. They're backstage and they're saying to themselves, "What are these guys doing? These guys are selfish." And they knew the Dead. They're both from San Francisco. And they were awful. And then another time, and Carrie might have been with me, at Robert F. Kennedy Stadium in Washington, D.C. with the Dead, the band, and the Allman Brothers. And the band and the Allman Brothers were unbelievable. And I had to suffer through that Grateful Dead. Maybe you need to be tripping to like the Grateful Dead.
The title of your book, which I should know, let me just think. Is Back to Yasgur's Farm?
Woodstock. Back to Yasgur's Farm.
I thought so.